At Texas Card House, and today we are playing a live stream massive game here. $5, $10, $25, $50 mandatory straddle. We buy in for $5,000. There is a ton of action and money on this table. Let's get started. First hand, it folds all the way to the big blind, and Phil makes it $175. I call in the $50 straddle with Jack Deuce suited, and we're heads up to our first flop, which comes out 10 high, giving us a flush draw. You may be wondering, Lex, why are you wearing those sunglasses? And there's two reasons behind that. One, the bright lights of the live stream give me a headache after a while, so it kind of dims that a little bit and helps my eyes and my head from getting a bad headache. And two, the sunglasses actually help me relax in these stressful, pressureful situations. Having sunglasses on helps me focus a little bit more as well. We don't flop much, but we do have a gut shot and 1-over card, and Phil continues for $75. A pretty small bet that I think I can peel here. I could potentially turn my hand into a bluff depending on the run out. The turn card is the Ace of Diamonds, one of those cards that I probably won't have very often in my range. He checks and I decide to check back. River 6, now giving it a one-liner straight to any 8. And Phil checks over to me. This is giving me the green light to turn my jack high into a bluff. I can have all the 8x in my range for a straight here. I make it $250, and he folds. We take this one down. With the $50 mandatory straddle on and everybody having around $5,000, that means we're about 100 big blinds effective. I raise on the button with ace-10 offsuit and get 3-bet by the third blind to $450. If I was way deeper, like 200 or 300 big blinds, I would peel here, but only 100 big blinds deep against a player who probably has a pretty strong hand. I let go of my ace-10 offsuit. In this hand, I'm going to blur out my opponent's hand so that you guys can sweat the action with me. He raises from early position here to $150, and everybody folds back over to me in the $50 straddle with ace-7 suited, a hand I definitely can be defending here. I could be dominated sometimes, but for only $100 more on a live stream, I got to be making the call. We're heads up out of position to an ace-high board. I check, and my opponent continues for a bet. I have a pretty clear call here, so I put in the chips, turn card 10, and I check over to him again. Now my opponent continues to put on the pressure here, betting out $350. I do have a little bit of history with this opponent. He does play regularly on these Tuesday and Wednesday live streams. He could be doing this with a variety of hands, potentially the king-high flush draw, the queen-high flush draw. He could also have some suited connectors as well. Maybe some wheel aces, ace-queen, ace-king, and also some hands that are completely crushing us like pocket jacks, pocket 10s, jack 10, king-queen for a straight, versus this sizing though against this player who can still have some bluffs in his range. I make the call, going to the river which pairs the board, it's a jack. I check and flow over to him, and checking is not what he decides to do. He decides to bet, and bet big, $1,100, and now the action's back over on me. Well, right off the bat, we are put in somewhat of a gross spot, facing a big bet with top pair against a capable player who can definitely be finding some bluffs in this situation. I start to think about what hands would take this sizing here on the river. I don't think he's betting this sizing, $1,100, into a $1,300 pot with a hand like ace-queen or ace-king. I don't think he's betting this big with ace-10 for a counterfeit 2 pair. I don't think he has a jack very often because I think a jack would check back the turn most of the time. So that leaves him to have a pretty narrow range for value. Basically king-queen, pocket aces, pocket jacks, and jack 10. My gut is telling me I should make the fold here. I just don't think my ace is going to be good very often. I can't really find many bluffs that he would be doing this with. However, this is a Texas live stream, and my image is pretty tight to these players. I've made some big folds in the past, and sometimes people even use the N-word to describe me, so I feel like sometimes I'm just going to have to call down in these situations, and if I'm beat, I'm beat, and I feel like it's better to call and be wrong than to fold and get bluffed again on a Texas live stream. So I put in the chips, and we get shown king-queen offsuit for a turn straight, and we lose a pretty big one right off the bat. These are the kind of situations that people don't really understand. When the live stream lights are on and the cameras are rolling, it just makes things way tougher. If I fold my ace there and he shows me a bluff, I look like an idiot. If I fold and he has a straight, I look like a genius. But unfortunately, we didn't make the right decision this time. But I'm okay with my call. Sometimes you're just going to lose. You got to pay him off. I end up adding on another $1,500 to my stack. Next up, OFC raises to $150. Phil calls in the cutoff, and we're on the button with pocket nines. A fairly strong hand. I could 3-bet or could call, and given the fact that I'm on the button, I'll have last act action on all the streets. I elect to just call here pre-flop. The $25 straddle calls and the $50 straddle calls 5 ways to a king, 4, 2-heart board. Checks all the way over to Phil, who bets $200. I raise it up to $500 and then realize that I misclicked and only made it $400, so a min raise. Action folds back over to Phil, and he makes the call. Turn ace of hearts, a terrible card. I put him on an ace high hand like ace 4 or a flush draw, so I decide to check back. The river's the 10 of hearts, another terrible card. He checks, I check back, and he wins this one with 9-7 of hearts. Not really the best start. We are now in the hole around $2,000, but in this game, that's basically nothing. Just one pot could get us back to even, and a big one could get us up on the session. Moving along, Kim opens up under the gun to $150. I have king jack suited in the hijack, a hand I could be 3-betting, but versus her under the gun raising range against a 9-handed table in a 4-blind game, I feel like she could have a very strong hand, so I elect to flat call. And now the button bumps it up himself to $600. Back over to Kim, who makes the call, and now the action's back over on me. With king jack of hearts facing a 3-bet, where we're going to be playing out of position against a button, I don't really like this spot. King jack can be dominated a lot of the time by a 3-betting range of pocket jacks, queens, kings, aces, ace king, and ace queen. However, we flew all the way here to Texas on Spirit Airlines. Let's play some pots, so I make the call. 3 ways and a 3-bet pot to an ace jack board. We flop 2 pair, king kicker, and I check over to the button, who puts out a $550 bet. And once Kim calls, I just feel like we are not good here very often. Either Kim has an ace, my opponent on the button has an ace, or maybe he's got pocket queens or kings, and we're drawing dead, so I make the fold.
Here actually just has an easy fold.
Kim ends up winning this pot with a flush on the river. Moving on to the next hand. For some reason, the $50 straddle was not on in this hand, so we're playing 5, 10, 25, and I'm in the hijack with ace queen offsuit. I raise to 100, and now the button 3-bets me again for the second time. The first time was with ace queen of clubs, and this time he's got ace king offsuit. He makes it $250. Action folds back over to me with ace queen offsuit facing a 2.5x raise. I think we have 2 options, raise or call. I like to call, but looking back, I think a 4-bet would be the best option versus a button 3-bet. However, we go to a king high board where we flop an overcard and a gut shot straight draw. My opponent bets $200, and I think we just have one option, and that's to call. Looking for some help here on the turn, which doesn't happen. It's the 9 of diamonds. I check over to the button again, and he continues to fire for $400. And I just think to myself, man, is this guy always going to have it? I just don't think that's possible to always have a really good hand. The first hand he had a straight. The second hand he flopped trips. Maybe this time he's bluffing. It is possible he could have a suited wheel ace at a 3-bet preflop. Suited connectors as well. So I get real sticky here with my ace high. I still have an overcard to a hand like king jack or king queen. I'm drawing to the nut straight as well. For only $400, let's see a river. Let's get lucky. And we do. It's the jack of diamonds giving us a straight. I check over to him, and unfortunately he checks this one back. And our ace queen is going to take this one down. And finally, we get lucky here on the river to win a pretty big one, $1,700 being pushed over to us. This next one is a funky one. Playing 5, 10, 25, 50. Phil's under the gun, and he has been enjoying some beverages here at the table. He limps for $50, which he has been doing a ton of the time here this session. I've seen a lot of his hands that he's been limp calling with, and let's just say they are definitely not all premiums. He loves to get in there and play a ton of pots. I put in a raise to $200 with Queen Jack of Hearts. Seems like a pretty standard play to me. Action folds back over to Phil, who just calls with pocket aces. Now, of course, I don't know that. I just put him on any two random cards like he usually plays. When the flop comes out 10 high, we do completely miss and he checks over to me. However, we do have the range advantage on this board. Because he didn't raise pre-flop, he shouldn't have aces, kings, queens, and jacks. And because we raise pre-flop, we can have all those strong hands, except for this time when he has pocket aces. I bet $250 and he makes the call. Here to the turn, it's a 4, and I actually think this is a great card for me to continue to barrel. He's going to be calling me on the flop with a ton of hands. He loves to float out of position. He could have hands like 7-8, 6-7, even 8-9 suited, possibly ace-high hands like ace-3 or ace-5. All those hands will definitely fold to a bet if I continue here. Let's say he has pocket 6s, pocket 5s, or even pocket 7s. He's probably going to fold to another bet as well. Earlier he folded second pair to me when I bluffed him with jack high. So I continue here to tell the story that I have a big overpair. I make it $675. I'm not really a big fan of double barrel bluffing when you don't pick up any extra equity, especially against a player who had been drinking and seems to be on the stickier side. However, against his potential holdings, like I said before, he's just going to have to fold a lot of the time and we're going to win this pot. But as you can see, he's got aces and folding is not what he decides to do. He decides to call. So in my mind here, I'm looking for some help or potentially a scare card I could try to bluff here on the river. 4 of hearts, now giving any pair a full house, and I think to myself, this is the spot I'm going to have to put out a big bluff. The way my opponent played this hand by limp calling pre-flop, he should really never have an overpair to the board. However, the way I played this hand, I can have aces, queens, kings, and jacks. If he has a 10 and I put out a big bet here, he's going to be in a pretty gross spot. I try to think about what sizing I want to go, maybe even 2x pot for a jam all in. I'm thinking I'm going to bet around $3,000 or $3,500 until Phil decides to bet himself. He jams all in for over $4,000 and we fold our queen jack. Thank God we didn't have a pair because I would be snap calling him there. And he plays his hand to perfection and wins a pretty big pot here, slow playing pocket aces. Keeping the Texas live stream trend alive here, losing big, down 2.6k, but like I said before, all it takes is one hand to get back to even and a big one to be up on the session. Trying to get some of our money back here, and this hand starts just like the last one where Phil limps for $50. We have ace queen offsuit in the hijack. Hopefully Phil doesn't have aces, and as you can tell, he doesn't this time. I make it $200 with ace queen, folds back over here to OFC and the $50 straddle, and he's got ace king. So far throughout this session, he really hasn't gotten into the mix very often. I think he's been pretty card dead. He decides to bump it up here to $750. Phil gets out of the way, and now the action's back over on me. OFC has $6,000, and I have around $5,000 to start the hand. Like I said before, I think ace-queen could be used as a 4-bet bluff sometimes. OFC is known to put in some light 3-bets and some crazy plays and crazy bluffs. However, against these positions, I actually think he's going to have a pretty strong hand. I contemplate folding, but I think I can call, see a flop, and see what happens. So we're going heads up to a pretty gross board of 6-6-4, 2 diamonds. OFC continues here for a pretty big bet. And with ace high, not even having the ace of diamonds, we could be drawing very slim against some of his big overpairs. I just reluctantly let my ace high go. Nothing seems to be going my way today. I just always seem to have second best so far. I either make a bad call on the river, a bad bluff on the turn, or just completely missed a board. I really haven't picked up many big pocket pairs or many playable hands to begin with. Definitely haven't coolered or bad beat anyone as well. So we're looking to try to change that. I'm in the game for $8,000 now. I'm sitting on around a $4,500 stack. So I'm stuck 3.5k until this big hand comes up. To let you guys know, we are now playing the 7 deuce game. If you win the pot with 7 deuce, everybody at the table owes you $200. Finally picking up a premium. Pocket jacks on the button. I raised to $200, and now Brass Monkey gets in there with a 3-bet. He makes it $600 with the 7 deuce offsuit. Under the gun straddler J Rock makes the call for $600, and with the action back over on Phil, he's got a pretty good premium hand for him. 9-6 offsuit. He can make some straights and 2 pairs. Eventually, Phil makes the discipline lay down here with 9 high. With the action back over on me, I started the hand with around $4,500. I have about 85 big blinds, and versus a button open, a small blind 3-bet, and a cold call, pocket jacks are just super strong. I don't want to call here and go multi-way, so I think I just got one option, and that's all in. The small blind lets go of his 7 deuce offsuit. No bounty for him this time, and now the action's back over on J Rock. He's got ace king offsuit in a $50 straddle game, facing an all in for around 85 big blinds. Should be a pretty easy snap call, but he thinks for a while, and when he cold calls pre-flop, I feel like he's going to have pocket 10s, pocket 9s, maybe ace jack suited, ace queen suited. I had no idea he was this strong. After getting a count of my stack and thinking it over for a while, he decides to let his hand go, and we take down a pretty big one here with pocket jacks without even having to see a flop. This is exactly what we needed, a little bit of momentum shifting in our direction. I'm in the game for $8,000. I've had second best hands the entire night. Really haven't been able to get in there and show any kind of skill set at all. I've just been folding or making the wrong plays. I'm in the game for $8,000. I'm sitting with around a 5.5k stack, so I'm still down 2.5k, but at one point I was down $4,000. With around 30 minutes left in the stream, we get into a pretty sick spot, and I'm going to let the commentators take over for this one.
Golly. Moneymaker going to raise the 5-4 spades. Oh, so you get 3-bet 450 with the 9s. And RV Phil with the aces. Oh my, what is going on here? Got an action-packed last 30 minutes of the stream here.
Yeah, that was so horrible. I almost spilled all my chips in the worst pot. Shit.
Oh no!
Lex.
Oh, no.
2 kings against 2 aces and a 3-bet from 9s from OSC?
Oh no.
Oh, God.
Oh no. I mean, he has one move, right?
The phrase is, hold on to your butts.
Oh no, he's all in.
He's all in for piles.
So to recap the action here, Moneymaker raises, OFC puts in a 3-bet, and then Phil puts in a 4-bet, and we look down in the small blind at the best hand we've seen all day, pocket kings. Now a little bit of background here, like I've said, Phil has been enjoying some beverages. He's had some drinks, that is for sure. So when he puts in this 4-bet here, obviously I am slam dunk fist bumping all day long. Pocket king is the second best hand you can get pre-flop in a wild Texas live stream game. With only around $5,000 in my stack, a little over 100 big blinds, one option, that is all in. I rip it all in. Moneymaker makes a pretty quick fold. Now OFC is sitting here with pocket 9s, facing a 4-bet and a cold 5-bet jam by me, one of the tighter players at the table, and this seems like a pretty easy snap fold with pocket 9s, but he likes to get his camera time. He sits there and thinks about it for about 90 seconds and eventually folds. Phil obviously makes his snap call and tells me right away he's got aces, and immediately my heart drops. Oh my God. I've been super unlucky over the last couple months getting set up, coolered, and bad beat, and now playing one of the biggest games I've ever played in my entire life. In the game for $8,000, I finally pick up pocket kings, and it's up against pocket aces. I ask him to run out the board 2 times because it's such a big pot, and he agrees. So we're going to see 10 cards here. We got to get lucky, or we're going to lose a massive one. We don't get any help on the first board. Aces hold $10,000 in the middle. One-time dealer. Give us a king. queen, queen, jack doesn't look good for us until the turn's the king of spades, giving us a full house, and we're going to chop this one up. Thank you, sweet baby Texas Poker Jesus. We did it. We got lucky for once, and we end up making a little bit of profit here and don't get stacked kings to aces. This was a massive hand for me. If I don't hit that king, I'm down around $8,000 on the session, getting completely crushed, but we get lucky. We chop this one up. We play for another 20 or 30 minutes, and we do a PLO flip, which ends up being an $1,800 pot, and we hit a flush with queen 3 of clubs, and we end up winning $1,600 right before the stream ends, which puts us at about a $700 loss on the day. So, given the fact that we were down $4,000 at one point, to end the stream only down $700 seems like a pretty big win to me. I also find it pretty funny that after 4 hours of play, the biggest pot I won all night was a PLO flip, which involves zero skill at all. Yeah, that sounds about right. We end up playing a little bit off stream as well, so I have a couple hands to share with you guys there. There's a limp for $50 from early position. Phil makes the call in the big blind. I'm in the $50 straddle with ace 10 of hearts. I bump it up to 300, and both of my opponents make the call. We see a jack high board. We have backdoor draws like backdoor flush draws, backdoor straight draws. On this board, I feel like they're going to not connect very often, so I see bet $350. Early position limper makes the fold, but RV Phil to my right makes the call. Turn card jack of spades, now bringing in a flush draw, doesn't give us any extra equity, and he's not going to be folding a pair now, and definitely not going to be folding a jack, so when he checks to me, I check this one back. The river card is the queen of clubs, doesn't give us anything either, and now Phil decides to go all in. He rips it all in for $2,200. This may seem like a very easy snap fold. We have ace high on this particular board and someone's going all in, but what the heck does he have here? Is he really doing this with jack? Would he be going all in for over a pot size bet with a hand like queen jack, ace jack, jack 10? Not sure if he'd be doing that. There's a ton of hands that he could be doing this with that we're beating. Hands like 8-9 for a straight draw that missed, 9-10 for a straight draw that missed, maybe a hand like 5-6 that floated on the flop. He could have ace 4, ace 5 suited. I definitely feel like he's bluffing here, but sometimes he could be bluffing with the best hand. Sometimes people turn smaller pocket pairs into bluffs. If I call here and he shows me pocket 4s, I'm just going to hate myself. So I reluctantly fold my ace high, and someone at the table says, show the bluff, and he does. He shows 8-9 of spades for a busted straight draw on the flop, and he takes this one down with a nice bluff there on the river. After the live stream, a couple pros sit down with the 10, 25, 50 game. Doesn't seem like a great lineup for me, so I take my chips, head on down to the floor for a 2-5 game. I find a good game, I buy in for around $3,000, and we get right into a pretty big pot here right off the bat. There's a limp for $5, the small blind calls $5. I have ace-king offsuit in the big blind. I raise to 30. Early position limper makes the fold, but now the small blind re-raises to $75. He's got 450 behind, so I just put them all in. He makes a very quick snap call and shows king-jack offsuit. We've got him completely crushed, over $800 in the middle. The flop is good, but the turn is a jack, giving him top pair, and just like that, we play over an $800 pot, ace-king to king-jack, all in pre-flop. My opponent hits a jack, and we double him up. This is a small pot compared to the pots I was playing, but it just put me on tilt. I played 4 hours on the live stream, couldn't really get too much going. I come over here to the 2-5, get it all in as a huge favorite, and lose. I don't want to play on tilt though, so I end up racking up my chips, heading to the cage, and cashing out for the night.
All right, guys, that is it for this one. I'm outside by this little courtyard area. One, because it's nice to walk around in the evening after sitting inside all day. And two, it reminds me of Rogue because this is where I used to walk him when I lived here back in the wintertime. I miss him every single time I leave. I hate leaving him, but I flew here to Dallas and I can't fly him on a plane, so he had to stay back in Florida. Anyway, as for tonight's session, we played 5, 10, 25.50, a massive, massive poker game. I wasn't expecting to play that big. I thought it was going to be 5-5-10 or 5-10-25, so I didn't even bring that much money with me to play in a game that big. I wasn't really mentally prepared either for a game that big, but it was massive, man. 5-10-25-50 is a huge game. I've only played that big maybe 4 or 5 times in my life, so it was wild. There was so much money on the table, and unfortunately, I just couldn't run good. I just couldn't really find any good spots, couldn't really pick up any hands, couldn't cooler anybody, couldn't make any big hands either, and just kind of lost and lost and lost. Finally, I looked down at pocket kings, and it goes raise, 3-bet, 4-bet. I have pocket kings. Now, I have $5,000 in front of me, and the blinds are 5, 10, 25, 50, which means I only have 100 big blinds. Really, you should never be folding pocket kings for 100 big blinds. This is one of those spots that you could maybe fold pocket kings when it goes raise, 3-bet, 4-bet, because you're only in for $5. I might be able to fold pocket kings, but not on a Texas live stream, not for 100 big blinds, and not against these particular players who could be 3-betting or 4-betting light. So I was all in with pocket kings, and of course, the button wakes up with pocket aces. Thank God he decided, or he let me run it twice with him, and we banked the king on the turn. So a little bit of run good out of all the shitty run bad today. Just can't seem to run good on a Texas live stream. I think I've lost like over $20,000 playing on Texas live streams. It's so annoying because the games are always so good. There's so much action, so many deep stacks as well. One time, if I could run good, I could win like $10,000, but that wasn't tonight. We ended up playing 2-5 afterwards because the 5, 10, 25, 50 got pretty bad. So I went down to 2-5, got it all in ace king versus king jack, and he hit a jack. So that just sums up how it's been going these last couple months. I get 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I make a winning session, then I lose 2 sessions. Then I win, then I lose, you know? So kind of frustrating, pretty annoying, but what can you do? I felt good today. I felt like I played good poker. I don't feel like I made any big mistakes, and thank God I didn't make any huge, terrible blunders while everyone was watching as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hopefully more live streams coming up in the future. If you like this video, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. More videos just like this 2 times per week. Until next time, I'll see ya.